On this week's KSP News Show, 10 all-new 1.0 screenshots revealed, revealing some amazing new features. And Harvester reveals some awesome smaller changes coming with 1.0. All that and more on this week's jam-packed KSP News Show.
Reporting live from the Kerbal Space Center, it's your host, Jinli Kerman.
Good morning, evening and afternoon, my fellow Kerbonauts. My name is Jinli Kerman. Welcome back to the KSP News Show. Wow, we have a lot of information to cover this week. We have had so much revealed about 1.0, so much that I need to cover in such a concise space of time. So let's get straight on with it with the first story for today. And I think you guys are really going to enjoy it because it's some actual screenshots of 1.0 in action. So yeah, let's get straight on with that story for today. Earlier on this week, at around Friday, when Squadcast was revealed, Kerbal Space Program put on their Facebook page an IMG link to 10 new screenshots that were revealed during Squadcast on Friday. And in them you can see the latest rendition of 1.0 and some of the features included within it. Here I've got the link in the description down below for you to check out the whole IMG library and to check out the images in their full quality. But I'm just going to go over each of them now, just briefly over each of them, just to give you guys a brief overview of them. So here, the first image you can see is a mining spacecraft on top of an asteroid. This is obviously the new deep space refueling feature. You can see in the center of the spacecraft, you can see that there is a load of tanks, and you can see that there are several drills attached to the top of the spacecraft. This obviously is enforcing the fact that you can actually mine asteroids for fuel. This has been said a while back, but it actually gives asteroids a use now rather than just being playthings, as I've said in a previous episode. Also, something that I don't know whether this is true or not, but I think, unless they're playing on really high graphics settings, I think the texture for the asteroid has been changed somewhat. I think it's now a bit more well optimized, a bit more high resolution, because it just looked, the overall texture of it with the actual craters and the depressions and stuff like that, it looks a lot nicer from compared to what I've already seen on the internet when people have been doing asteroid redirect missions. But yeah, I might be wrong about that, so don't quote me on that, but I'm definitely looking forward to the deep space refueling feature. On to the second screenshot, and it's again another feature of the deep space refueling, this time on Juna. So you can see here we've got a load of tanks, we've got a processing facility underneath the command module here, we've got a drilling segment, we've got 3 atomic engines. It's basically your bog standard Juna lander, only this time you're actually able to refuel it. And as obviously it says, it means that you can actually get fuel from Juna as well, which is always nice. Moving on to the third screenshot as well. Now this one I am a massive fan of. You can see that they are some new air intakes for the space planes that you can create. You can see that we have there's two new types. We have a sort of angular one, which I very much like the angular one. And we have a circular sort of nose cone thing that looks reminiscent of a very early MiG from like the Vietnam War or some sort of thing. And I actually really like the look of these. Once again, PorkJet has done an amazing job with modelling these spaceplane parts. I love the way it just kind of says air as well on the bottom of the intake there, as if you actually needed some sort of guidance with regards to that. But yeah, very cool. I'm looking forward to those parts very, very much, and I think they're going to look awesome, the stuff that you can make with it. The fourth screenshot shows off something which is very, very making me very nervous for my upcoming EVE mission, and that is the heat shields for the new re-entry heating, which of course has been confirmed to be part of 1.0. It is available to be turned off if you want to, as that's been revealed recently. But personally, I think pretty much everyone will be playing with at least some form of re-entry heat available. You can see here there are various different sizes. It ranges from the 0.625 meter to 1.25 meter to 2.5 meter to 3.5 meter. And you can see that they've got a nice little interstage in between them if they're put on top of a decoupler, which is very nice because it makes your rockets look a whole lot more sleek. I do like the texture as well. It looks very realistic, very reminiscent of the heat shields present in Deadly Re-entry. And overall, I think they've done a very good job of this, although I am kind of concerned about re-entry heating. It is more realistic, but I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm not used to playing with Deadly Re-entry or what have you. But I think it could be interesting, very interesting, particularly when you actually end up seeing some of the gameplay that I end up using. Moving on to the 5th screenshot, we have a sort of disappointment in my eyes. It is the fairings that obviously I've been talking about and singing the praises of for the past couple of weeks since they have been released. And I initially thought that when they separated from the vehicle, which is obviously what this screenshot is showing, I thought that when they separated they'd be like the KW rocketry or the procedural fairings mod, where the two sides of the fairing came off as one solid shell. It doesn't look like this is the case with these fairings. They all come off as separate parts. And I don't know, I don't think it looks all that great, to be fair. I think that the two or three shells like splitting apart looks very cool. This kind of looks just a little bit messy. This might just be my personal opinion. Let me know in the comments below, guys, what you think of this new fairing separation look. It is only a very small thing, and but personally, I'm not a massive fan of it, personally. The 6th screenshot is of the new Ion engine. Obviously, the Ion engine is getting a slight rebalance, as with every part in the game at the moment. Ready for 1.0. However, you can see it's attached to a larger 1.25 meter Ion xenon gas tank. Now, this will probably be a rather large tank for long-distance deep space probes, and it means that the Ion engine will be a lot more viable as an option for unmanned missions to the deeper parts of the Kerbal system, which is kind of nice, because I tried the Ion probe the other day and managed to get it to Juna. It's actually really cool if you've got the patience to use it, which I know a lot of people don't, because KSP is all about explosions for a lot of people and watching things blow up and not being very precise. But the Ion engine is a very precise thing to use, but if you can pull it off correctly, it is a very nice thing to use. And so, by the fact they're giving it some loving before 1.0 releases, I think that's a very good idea. The 7th screenshot shows off again the Ion tanks. It shows the comparison with regards to the Mark 1 lander can. You can see it's a 1.25 meter Xenon tank compared to the radial and the 0.625 meter ones. And I think this is a very nice looking parts. And again, we'll put more emphasis on the deep space missions and stuff like that. Number 8, you can see something which I think is very nice, and it will make sure that your craft do no longer look like stupid little I don't know. Basically what these are storage containers, and what you can do, as you can see through the ghosted image there, is you can put scientific instruments and batteries and monopropellant tanks inside of them. They're like little cubby holes that you can place on your spacecraft, and it hides away all those like rough edges that we say that would otherwise be mounted radially to your spacecraft. So let's say you had a moon lander and it had loads of, say, batteries, of scientific experiments, all that sort of stuff on the outside, and the monopropellant and stuff, and you were running out of room, and it ended up the lander looked kind of it just looked pretty sloppy in terms of design, and it didn't look all that appealing to the eye. This solves that problem, and I think the cubby holes are a very nice idea. It also gives you a bit more scope for building bases, I think, because imagine you could just build if that larger 2.5 meter cubby hole there is big enough to store a Kerbal in, which I'm guessing it probably is. I can see that being used for quite a few different base ideas. Maybe you could have like a bar or a dance floor there. Not quite sure if that's an actual thing, but I think that would be quite cool. I might try that out when it actually releases. The 9th screenshot shows off something very small, but something pretty awesome as well. It shows that when you load a craft now, it actually gives you an overview of the picture of the craft. So let's say you've been confused, I do this all the time. You're confused and you're trying to find a craft that you've saved ready to launch again. You're trying to launch it again. Let's say you failed the first time, but you have no idea what you named it. This little picture next to it now will actually show you what it looks like. So it will make finding them just a little bit easier. Just a small change, but I think a very good change. On to the final change though, and this is quite a... It's quite a surprise. I wasn't expecting this. You can see in the final 10th screenshot, you can see it's just a normal bog standard plane with some new aerodynamic parts. These are the new Mark III wings, as you can see. They're very nice. They're very thick. I think they look very cool. But what's concerning me more than anything, I do like the look of the wings. I think the wings look very cool. But what's concerning me is the caption above this picture. It says, "Terrain is no longer flat around the Kerbal Space Center in 1.0. Will upgrading the runway finally make sense?" Smiley face. And if you look back at the Kerbal Space Center, you can see that the terrain has actually been altered so that it is no longer perfectly flat. This is going to be rather concerning for me, because I hardly ever manage to actually line my planes up and get them landed on the runway straight. This could lead to many mistakes with landing. Let's say if you don't get your approach quite right and you end up landing just like to the right or to the left of the runway, you could end up bouncing off and ending up breaking parts of your space plane. Adds a little extra layer of jeopardy, but I think personally maybe a bad idea. But I don't know. I want to know what you guys think about all these screenshots, all the features that have been shown off in these screenshots, because of course they are awesome. Let me know in the comments down below. Like I say, I always read the comments because I love reading your comments, guys. It's absolutely amazing. Yeah, let me know in the comments down below. We can get a nice little discussion going. But yeah, on to the next story for today. And so yes, moving quickly on to the final story for today. Gonna have to speed this one up a little bit, seeing as this video is over 11 minutes long already. Harvester in this week's dev notes has been talking about some of the smaller implementations that he has been working on for 1.0. Yet again, he seems to be doing this a lot. It seemed to be a focus of last week's dev notes, and now these are the focuses for this week. He says, "Wow, weeks seem to be flying by now. Didn't we write one of these a few days ago? Must have been them relativistic effects again. Anyhow, my week can best be described as a mad blur, in which case many a bug was fixed, and many a feature got implemented in a half-dazed flurry of non-stop coding days. So I'm referring to the Git log to see what went in between the last game dev blog and now. Here are some of the highlights. First of all, he says, fixed a very ugly looking and concerning scenario bug concerning scenario modules persistence. I'm amazed it went by as it did. Should fix many mysterious persistence problems, hopefully. Went over balance and progression of solid rocket boosters in early games. We now have a new solid rocket booster, confirmed there, called the RT5 Flea Booster, modelled by Bob the Rover Dude. So here we have confirmation of a new solid rocket booster being added into the game. I'm not quite sure how this is going to function. I'm guessing it's going to be somewhat like the Globe solid rocket booster of the KW Rocketry pack, but that remains to be seen. This is yet to be revealed. I'm guessing it will probably be revealed at some point within the next week or so, but I'm definitely looking forward to that. Speaking of new parts, Bob and I are working on 2 new parts, which should be very useful now that re-entry heat is a thing. More on that later. Of course, this is referring to the heat shields, I'm sure. Added a difficulty slider to turn re-entry heat down or up or entirely off, your choice. This is what I was on about earlier, re-entry heat being toggleable depending on your difficulty level. I'm probably going to have it at some point just to add a little bit of challenge into my game, although I probably will keep it to a minimum just because I don't want it affecting all the large craft that I make. He also says also that the flight UI can now be made transparent through a game setting. He's added a warp to next morning button at the KSC toolbar. That's going to be very nice. So when you start time warping, and you can time warp to daytime and have a nice dawn launch for your craft, so you don't have to launch at night unless you absolutely have to or want to now, which is very, very nice indeed. SAS maneuver node automatically disengages back to stability assist as delta V nears 0. That's going to be very nice because I've had, when I've been following a maneuver node using a stability assist, using these new little buttons that you have if you're either using a probe core or a pilot that follows a maneuver node, I've had it just go way off track and start spinning my craft around, chasing the maneuver node. But now, seeing as it moves back to a stability assist as the node reaches 0, that's going to be a very nice change. Many improvements to ambient audio in flight. So this means that it's no longer going to be silent and just the sound of the engine and the ambient music in flight now. There may be some sort of creaking, I don't know, as you turn your craft in space, as you do relative things, like say you're in the cockpit, you may be able to hear the air conditioning, like the sound replacer mod implements. I think that's going to be quite nice. It's going to add an extra level of immersion there. The Round 8 toroidal fuel tank was repurposed as a 1.25 meter inline xenon tank. Now, in case you don't know what it is, the Round 8 toroidal fuel tank is the fuel tank that looks like a life ring, the orange one that looks like a donut. You could stack these one on top of the other, and they were pretty decent fuel tanks. So I'm not quite sure why these have been repurposed, because they were pretty popular, particularly among smaller landers. But that remains to be seen why. They'll probably give us a reason within the next couple of days or so. Many improvements to ambient... no, we're not going to that one again. We are going to the vessel info panel in the knowledge base UI. Shows a craft's max acceleration, estimated time to reach 0 meters a second, which is very useful for timing rendezvous burns. Now, that's just a little bit of extra information. I'm very pleased that this is going to be happening. I still don't know why they haven't got the amount of delta V a craft has for a when you're building it, because that would just be so much nicer to have. They've added a system to generate and display thumbnails for craft files. We've already seen this in the screenshot. Several improvements to part shaders, especially around transparent textured ones, and finally added Porkjet's awesome new Mark III wing sections. So I want you guys to tell me in the comments down below, what do you think of these smaller changes? Obviously some of them have been showcased in some of the screenshots, and I think 1.0 is just shaping up to be an amazing update now. I literally cannot wait for the release within the next couple of weeks. That's going to be pretty good fun when it actually does release. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much going to round it off for this week's KSP News Show. As always, let me know in the comments down below what you thought of any of the stories today. We passed 500 subscribers today as well, because you guys are absolutely amazing. I will be working on the 500 subscriber special video at some point, maybe today, maybe at some point when I get some free time. But I will definitely be doing that at some point soon, and I will bring that to you guys as soon as possible. But yeah, guys, my name is Jinley Kerman, and as always, remember to like and subscribe for more. Stay classy.